Welcome back to another episode of the Algorithm Podcast.
Been a while. But,
it's been a while.
Life happens.
That's your favorite thing to say as soon as we open up an episode. It's been a while.
We're going to get consistent. At some point, life is going to slow down.
Starting now.
Yes.
Consistent.
And we're going to...
Yeah, I'll be quicker with editing. We'll push them out a little bit more consistent. When we first started the show, it was once a week.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
No.
Once a week episode?
No, I can't.
It was like clockwork and then just live. Bam, 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 bam.
Summer's just busy.
Extremely busy.
And then we move into like holiday months. Then we chill.
Yeah. It is October.
I'm like, what?
We need to do a spooky episode.
No, that we're going to need somebody else for because I don't do...
Really? No way.
No.
We have to do something.
Something. I'm such a weenie.
Whether it's like, we have to do something, whether we tell like the Amityville story or something.
See, now I could probably...
True crime horror.
Yeah, I could probably do that. But
yeah, that's what I mean.
If we're talking about scary movies and...
No, we don't have to do scary movie episodes.
You just won't catch me watching one. I'll poop my pants.
I'm talking like true stuff. Like
we could do that for sure.
I think last year we did Dahmer, Jeffrey Dahmer. Me and Erica did Ed and Lorraine Warren, which is a really good one. Yes,
I watched that one, and it literally gave me chills. I was like,
that was a real good one.
Yeah,
because Erica told the story of her grandma and stuff like that. I think that one. Yeah. Okay, so let's plan on that.
Okay.
Next episode.
Spooky.
We figure out something to talk about spooky.
Okay.
You shoot me ideas, I'll shoot you ideas.
Okay.
Whatever. Today's episode, before we get into it, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube.
The YouTube specifically.
Specifically. We have a few episodes that are doing very well on there. Yes. If you haven't checked out the Johnny Gosh episode, do so.
Do it.
Surprisingly, the Ivy Ridge episode is doing really well. Yeah, and the John Bonet episode's starting to pick up too. So
heck yeah.
Check out the YouTube. Jaycee Lee Dugard today. One of the more recent, not super recent, but recent missing persons to be found.
Yeah.
Type cases.
I honestly didn't expect that. In the beginning, I was like, oh man, we're doing another like missing person, sad.
Some of them have good endings.
Yeah.
I mean, even though this one was very horrible, like this one had a good ending, So we want to get straight into it. You want to lead us off, or you want me to lead us off, or?
I don't care. I can.
Lead us off.
Okay.
Side note, you might hear two toddler girls going crazy in the background.
There really is no guarantee that it's going to be quiet back there, because one of them squeals nonstop and the other one talks nonstop. So
yeah, can't
win. But all right, Jaycee Lee Dugard, which at first I thought we were talking about the Duggards. The
Duggards,
and I was like,
who are the Duggards again?
Jim, Bob, and Michelle. They have like 1 million kids. I thought we were doing, 19 kids and counting.
Nope, not my thing. No, I think I know who you're talking about though.
I saw the last name and I was like, oh man, did I miss something? Not even related at all. Nope. Okay. Anyways. On June 10th, 1991, Dugard's mother, who worked as a typesetter at a print house, left for work early in the day. Dugard, who was 11 years old at the time, wore her favorite all-pink outfit as she walked up the hill from her house against traffic to catch the school bus. When she was halfway up the hill, a gray car approached. She thought that the man driving the car was stopping to ask for directions. How do you say his last name?
Garrido.
Okay. Yep. The driver, Phillip Garrido, rolled down the window and tased Dugard unconscious with a stun gun before abducting her.
That was horrible.
Yeah. And listening to her tell the story of how she was just walking and she was like, yeah, I didn't think it was any big deal. And then all of a sudden, I just felt the life drain out of me as I passed out.
And she peed her pants and stuff like that. And
she was just 11.
Yeah, just passed out in the car.
She walks up the hill from the house to catch the school bus, the way her mother taught her, looking out for traffic.
Walked up the side of the hill. That was the safe way to go against traffic. And halfway up, my world changed in an instant. I thought, oh, somebody's looking for directions.
A gray car pulls up. A man rolls down the window.
Because what else would it be? And his hand shoots out, and I just feel numb. My whole body is tingly. I don't know what it's from. I fall back in the bushes.
She had been paralyzed by a stun gun.
I lost control of my bladder. I wasn't even embarrassed. No time to be embarrassed.
On the ground, the sharp edges of a pine cone are the last things she touches before she comes to, face down, on the floor in the backseat of a car.
I remember my throat felt very dry and scratchy and like I had been screaming, but I don't remember screaming.
The man behind the wheel is Phillip Garrido, a convicted sex offender, supposedly monitored by parole officers and doctors. Holding her down on the floor is his wife, Nancy. The district attorney believes Nancy scouted this little girl for her husband as a prize.
His wife, Nancy, dragged Dugard into the car and removed her clothing, leaving only a butterfly-shaped ring on that Dugard would hide from them for the next 18 years, which is also, like, they still have that ring to this day. Mm-hmm. That's pretty neat.
These guys are pieces of work. This dude and his wife, they're real pieces of work.
Nancy, I found her very interesting because, like, her role in all of it.
You're talking about, like, the videos?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, these people are out there, like, way
out there.
The fuck out there. Mm-hmm. So, they would go to the park and with the video recorder. And this dude thought he was just all that in a bag of chips as far as like a singer.
He was Elvis.
Yeah.
You know, he was putting on a show.
So they would go to parks where kids were playing. You know, this isn't funny. This is just, it's insane because there's actual video of it.
Yeah.
And she would record him playing the guitar and singing. But what they were really doing is they were scouting kids.
I don't know. She's just as evil as Phillip. Very twisted minds.
Twisted.
Okay. Does it say record still?
Yes.
Good.
Remember the video obtained by the prosecutors of Phillip Garrido playing his guitar? Again, he is a convicted sex offender supposed to be monitored, at times even wearing an ankle bracelet. But here, he is singing at a children's playground. And holding the camera, his wife Nancy, who will furtively move it off him away to gather secret pictures of little girls playing.
You got me real good?
Yes. I can see you really good.
Like just dozens of little kids in the background playing.
Yeah, I think there was like a clip of like one where he's like, yeah, you're getting it really good. You're getting the shot really good. And she's like zoomed in on a kid.
She's like, yeah, I got it.
I got it really good. It's sickening.
Oh, like I was very intrigued by her role because I feel like nobody ever talks about the people around that can help people. Like, what's his face? Phillip?
Yeah.
But
she was just as fucking batshit crazy as he was. They met in prison. She met him while he was locked up for rape.
Mm-hmm. Already. Like, he was already locked up, and they ended up getting married while he was still incarcerated.
Yeah. Disclaimer, that word will be used in this podcast. Like, he was serving a 30 or 50-year sentence.
I don't remember.
It was like a 50-year sentence for raping a woman for 8 hours in a storage unit.
8 hours.
Yeah.
Nuts.
And he served 10 years of it.
And then got out.
That would not happen today.
No, that was another red flag that everybody was like, what were they thinking?
Yeah.
Like, what was actually going on for him to get like an early release?
Yes. And the parole officers, the probation officers, people that were around Phillip at the time of when Jaycee was with him and stuff like that. This is why they caught so much heat.
Yeah.
Because of what this guy was known for.
Right.
And you guys just...
Well, didn't even like take in the whole area.
Yeah.
Had they just gone in the backyard, it would have changed everything. But okay.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Nancy covered Dugard with a blanket and held her down as Dugard drifted in and out of consciousness during the 3-hour drive to the... I still don't know. Garrido's property, 120 miles away in
Antioch.
Antioch?
It's like anti and then OCH. I think it's Antioch.
Okay. The only time Dugard spoke was when she pleaded that her parents could not afford a ransom. The district attorney in the Dugard's case believed that Nancy had scouted Dugard as a prize for Garrido.
Yeah, what we just talked about. She was just a A fucking scout out there.
Yeah, because how did that come about, though? She did it as a prize for him because he got out of prison? Or was it, I thought I heard it was because she had upset him by saying something.
I think she upset him.
And
yeah.
then-
And I remember when they were driving off, they were like, they were like screaming, "Oh my God, I can't believe we just got away with it."
I can't believe we just did that. Okay.
Sick people.
Yeah. Probyn witnessed the abduction of his stepdaughter from within sight of their home. He saw two people in a mid-sized gray car, possibly a Mercury Monarch, make a U-turn at the school bus stop where Dugard was waiting, and a woman forced Dugard into the car. He chased after them on a bicycle but was unable to overtake the vehicle. Some of Dugard's classmates also witnessed the abduction. Can you imagine that? As like a young child watching your friend get yoinked into a car?
It would, yeah, you would never forget it.
That's traumatizing. I think I'd be terrified to go anywhere.
I've been thinking about it, getting like tracking things for Hallie.
Yeah.
Like anytime we go out, just like something like put on her shoe or something.
Yeah. And it's so awful that even back then, there wasn't any way to track children. I'm so thankful for modern days where, air tags are a thing. And
Oh, yeah, an air tag. That's what I meant.
yeah. Initial suspects included Probyn and Ken Slayton, Dugard's biological father, though they did not know each other, and Slayton had only had a brief relationship with Dugard's mother in 1979, not knowing he had a child. Probyn, what an awkward name, Probyn.
Probyn, yeah.
Took and passed several polygraph tests, and Slayton was also quickly cleared of suspicion. The kidnapping led to the breakup of Terry and Probyn's marriage.
Okay. Let's get into the search effort. Within hours of Dugard's disappearance, local and national media on South Lake Tahoe covered the story. Within days, dozens of local volunteers assisted in the search effort, which involved nearly every resource within the community. Within weeks, tens of thousands of flyers and posters were mailed to businesses throughout the United States. Since Dugard's favorite color was pink, the town was blanketed in pink ribbons as a reminder of her disappearance and as a demonstration of support for her family by the community.
Which, good for her mom. There's just, so many videos and things of her mom just saying, I know I'm going to see her again. Seeing all these people gathered and, in support of us is only furthering my belief that I will see her again.
She doesn't know. Her mother is now asking neighbors to keep their porch lights on in case she comes home.
Lifts my spirit real high. I'm overwhelmed. This is more than I can ask for. Give me a light. This is gonna bring her home. I know it.
And
yeah.
What a tough spot she had to be in to be so headstrong to get past those emotions of her child literally being abducted and still being able to say, I have so much hope in seeing her again.
Yeah, we talked about it in the Johnny Gosh case. It's I could not imagine.
Yeah.
Even putting a search effort together, it's just doing what we do, doing this right here, we know the likelihood of bad things happening and stuff like that.
Right.
I just don't, it'd be very hard.
Yeah. And to see these parents just literally doing everything that they can in an effort to locate where their child may have gone is crazy. Good for her mom.
Yeah. Terry Probyn founded a group called Jaycee's Hope, which directed the volunteer and fundraising efforts. Cassette tapes of the song Jaycee Lee, along with t-shirts, sweatshirts, and buttons, were sold to raise money for poster materials, postage, printing, and related expenses. Child Quest International and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children were involved in the effort. A reward was offered, which was noted on the posters and flyers. The kidnapping case attracted nationwide attention and was featured on the June 14th, 1991 episode of the Fox television show America's Most Wanted. The ensuing years were a continuous effort of child safety awareness, fundraising events, candlelight vigils, marking Dugard's disappearances, making her story and the public awareness.
Yeah. There was just a lot. They did a lot, especially for with the song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. Very cool, but...
Okay. Upon arriving at the Guitos home in an unincorporated area of Antioch, the Guitos took Dugard, her head still covered with a blanket, behind their house, where they had constructed a series of dilapidated tents and sheds.
Ooh.
Garrido placed Dugard inside a tiny shed that had been soundproofed. Dugard, I mean, you guys have to see this property. Yep. I'll put this video shots of this property. You can see it. It's a fucking compound.
It is.
Like, and that if that's not a red flag from a guy who
is known
for doing what he did. My God.
Come on. There were so many tarps and like random things in that backyard.
Yeah, they said there was something like their ankle bracelets. They could ping, or like the heat, something with the ankle bracelets can do something. And they could ping like red and blue dots. And they could ping where Garrido was at by red dots. Well, they never looked for the blue dots. You know, if they had looked for the blue dots, they would so fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, they dropped the ball bad.
Yeah.
The law enforcement did. Dugard later stated in her memoir in an interview with ABC News that upon arrival, Garrido handcuffed her and left her naked in the shed, which he bolted shut, warning her that trained Doberman pinschers outside the shed would attack her if she tried to escape. This was his thing. Like, he handcuffed her with like furry handcuffs.
Yeah, and it was like, these won't hurt.
Yeah, these won't hurt. And like his entire spill with her from the time that she was 11 to the time that she was an adult was like brainwashing her, telling her, okay, this will happen if you do this. And she was trained to believe that stuff.
I mean, she was 11. Like, can you imagine how terrifying it would be to be 11, naked, handcuffed in a shed? Awful.
Unbelievable. Okay, right after the abduction, Garrido forced Dugard into a shower with him, which is the first time that she had been exposed to an unclothed man. During her first week in captivity, Dugard remained in handcuffs, her only human contact being Garrido, who sometimes brought her fast food and talked to her. He provided a bucket for her to use to relieve herself. A week after the kidnapping, Garrido raped the still handcuffed Dugard for the first time. He continued to rape her frequently, doing so at least once a week for the first 3 years of her captivity.
Once a week?
Yeah.
While she's literally being kept like...
And the first time he did it, he brought her a milkshake.
Yeah. He's like, here, I brought you this. Yep.
Tough stuff. I mean, this is
It's
some
awful.
tough stuff that we're talking about.
It is awful.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
At one point, Garrido provided Dugard with a television, but she could not watch the news and remained unaware of the search for her. Almost a month in...
She could only watch... The only thing she watched was QVC.
Yes, the jewelry.
The jewelry.
Yeah, and she was like, it honestly wasn't the best thing to watch, but at least I wasn't
She
sitting
could
in
fall.
silence.
Yeah, she could fall asleep listening to jewelry being sold.
Wow. I forgot about that.
Yep.
Almost a month and a half after her kidnapping, by Dugard's recollection...
Garrido.
Why can I not say that? Oh my gosh.
It's spelled weird. It's
yes.
spelled like Garrido or Garrido.
Yes.
Yeah.
Garrido moved her to a larger room next door where she was handcuffed to a bed.
Just think Guido.
I want to say Jarito. And
Jarito?
not Dorito.
Yeah.
Like a freaking Dorito or something. I don't know. He explained that the demon angels let him take her and that she would help him with his sexual problems because society had ignored him. Garrido would occasionally go on days-long methamphetamine binges he called runs, during which he would force Dugard to keep him company by performing sexual favors and engaging in various other activities with him. Garrido made her listen out for the voices he said he could hear from the walls and often professed a belief that he was a chosen servant of God. These binges would end with Garrido sobbing and apologizing to Dugard, alternating with threats to sell her to people who would put her in a cage. Which he convinced her that she was in the place that she was because she was saving other girls from being in that same position. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I almost felt like I had this duty to him because I was saving other people from being in the position that I was in. Mm-hmm. Because he was
manipulation.
Yes, he was like a servant of God, and that's what he was called to do, and that's what the voices told him to do. And he completely brainwashed her at 11 years old. Yeah,
because we'll find out later on that she had ample opportunities to escape. I mean, she had access to the internet and everything, and she just did it.
Yep.
7 months into her captivity, Garrido introduced Dugard to his wife, Nancy, which that's kind of crazy. That 7 months, even though Nancy helped capture her, She didn't get to meet her, hang out with her for 7 months.
Well, I remember Jaycee saying that she felt like she had to prove that she wasn't going to go anywhere in order for Phillip to bring her around Nancy. Like, she had to prove that she wasn't going to run, she wasn't going to yell, she wasn't going to scream. And that's when she finally got to be around somebody else that wasn't him. And like, she was a child.
Yeah.
It is awful.
Yep. She wanted Nancy to like her.
Yeah. Which is sad.
That's fucked up.
Because
That's horrible. That's horrible.
Nancy's an awful person.
They both are. The worst of the worst. Yeah, and that's how brainwashed she was, but she was an 11-year-old kid. Kids are the easiest influenced people in the world, you know. Garrido introduced Dugard to his wife, Nancy, who brought the child a stuffed animal and chocolate milk and engaged in the same tearful apologies to her. Though Dugard craved the woman's approval at the time, in a 2011 ABC News interview, she stated that Nancy was just as manipulative as Garrido. Dugard related that Nancy alternated between motherly concern and coldness and cruelty, expressing her jealousy of Dugard, whom she regarded as one to blame for her predicament. She characterized Nancy, who worked as a nursing home aide, as evil and twisted. When Garrido was returned to prison for failing a drug test, Nancy replaced her husband as Dugard's jailer.
Which he was sent back to prison.
Yeah, I can't remember. She used some kind of excuse, said he was going somewhere.
He was on a vacation somewhere, on like a tropical island or something like that. And that's what she told Jaycee as she took over the responsibilities of taking care of her, which is twisted.
The Garrido's neighbor, Patrick McQuaid, told the San Jose Mercury News that as a child he recalled meeting Dugard through a fence in the Garrido's yard soon after the kidnapping. I didn't know this.
Yeah.
He said that she had identified herself by the name Jaycee, and that when asked if she lived there or was just visiting, she answered that she lived there. At that point, Garrido came out and took her back indoors. He eventually built an 8-foot-tall, 2.4-meter fence around the backyard and set up a tent for Dugard. The first time that she was allowed to walk outside since her kidnapping.
Yeah, because she got moved from a shed to a bigger shed, and then he allowed her to be outside in a tent.
Yep. Which I think she kind of learned how to garden and stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Garridos manipulated Dugard further by presenting her on 2 occasions with kittens that would later mysteriously vanish. When Garrido discovered that she was signing her real name in a journal that she kept about the kittens, she was forced to tear out the page with her name in it. The last time she would be permitted to say or write her name until her captivity ended 18 years later. She was never allowed to see a doctor or dentist.
For 18 years. And those are important years to, be having medical care. And she didn't get to see anybody.
She was not allowed to write or say her name, which would be a big thing later on.
Very true. You want me to go?
Yeah.
Almost 3 years under her captivity, the Garridos began to allow Dugard freedom from her handcuffs for periods, though they kept her locked in a bolted room. On Easter Sunday of 1994, they gave her cooked food for the first time. The couple informed Dugard that they believed that she was pregnant. Dugard, age 13 at the time, had learned of the link between sex and pregnancy from television. Dugard watched television programs on childbirth in preparation for the birth of her first daughter, which occurred when Dugard was age 14 on August 18, 1994. After the birth of her first daughter, Garrido raped Dugard less frequently, though he would nonetheless do so when he had taken drugs. She was 14.
So much to process right there.
She was 14 years old when she had her first daughter on the floor of a shed. And she said that she didn't even know what was happening until she was literally about to give birth to the child. And she was obviously screaming, help me, I need help. And she was in a soundproof room, so nobody heard her. And she was they almost missed the birth of that child because nobody could hear me yelling for help.
The umbilical cord got wrapped around the girl's neck, and Phillip, through watching television shows, knew how to get it unwrapped and delivered the baby.
Yeah. That baby probably would have not made it had he not been there, and he was almost not there.
If there was one good thing that motherfucker did in his lifetime, it was that right
It
there.
was saving that baby.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all just awful.
It's so bad. And the thing is like when you talk to her about, like when you listen to her talk about it, it was the greatest thing to ever happen
Yeah.
to her in her life because she wasn't alone
Yeah.
anymore.
She said, like, I felt nothing but like desire to keep that baby safe and make sure that he didn't touch that child the way that he touched me.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't coming out. So he did that and she came out and then I saw her. She was beautiful. I felt like I wasn't alone anymore. Had somebody that was mine. I wasn't alone. And I knew I could never let anything happen to her. I didn't know how I was going to do that, but I did.
And he held the baby and said, I pray that I don't harm the baby.
She was 14. She was 14 years old
Man.
being put in that position.
And this is one of 2 children that she would
2.
have.
In the 18 years that he had her in captivity, she had 2 children.
Which we're getting
by
ready
him.
to talk about now.
The last time Garrido raped Dugard was the day her second daughter was conceived. Her second daughter was born when Dugard was 17 on November 13th, 1997. Dugard took care of her daughters using information learned from television and worked to protect them from Garrido, who continued his enraged rants and lectures. Dugard coped with her continued captivity by planting flowers in a garden and homeschooling her daughters. She homeschooled her kids, not even having education herself.
Yeah, she said the only thing that she could do was like simple math and simple English.
Yeah.
But I mean, she taught them basic.
Yeah.
I mean,
And how to obviously work with their hands, because that's all she could do was, like gardening and things outside that she had learned through her captivity.
these kids growing up as toddlers, kids, early teens, this was life to them.
Yeah.
This is what they knew as life. Like, I
Awful.
mean,
Just knowing that, like, they had their mom, but she was a kid herself.
and another thing is they didn't refer to her as mom.
Yeah.
She had to be referred to as like an older sister.
Yeah, like a big sister.
Yeah.
At one point, Garrido informed Dugard that to pacify his wife, Dugard and her daughters were to address Nancy as their mother,
Yep.
and that she was to teach her daughters that Dugard was their older sister. When Dugard and her daughters were eventually allowed to come into contact with other people, this fiction was continued. Garrido operated a printing shop where Dugard acted as the graphic artist. Ben Dogdrill,
Yeah, Dodrell.
a customer of Garrido's printing business, claimed that he met and spoke by telephone with Dugard and that he did excellent work. During this time, Dugard had access to the business phone and an email account, which this was like a big, like this was one that everybody hit on because they were like, she had so many opportunities to say like,
She had access to the internet with a computer.
like something is going on here and I need help. And she never once said anything,
Yep.
which furthermore just proves that she was just remaining loyal to the brainwashing that she had received.
Yep.
Which is awful. Another customer indicated that she had never hinted to him about her childhood abduction or her true identity. Witnesses stated that Dugard was seen in the Garrido household and sometimes answered the front door to talk to people, but never stated that there was a problem or attempted to leave. While the family kept to themselves, the girls were sometimes seen playing in the secondary backyard behind the house where Dugard's living quarters are thought to have been located, because there was a backyard to the backyard, which is another whack. Like, that was one of those turns that I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what do you mean there's a backyard to the backyard? And nobody's like, yeah, that's a big red flag. Like, you can't even see in it. And like, nobody thought that there was an issue. You're telling me you didn't hear two kids running around constantly outside and didn't go like, there's something not right there.
Yeah.
Ugh.
3 people in the backyard.
Yeah. The private area of the backyard included sheds, one of which was used as a recording studio in which Garrido recorded himself singing religious-themed and romantic country songs. 2 homemade tents and what has been described as a camping-style shower and toilet. The area was surrounded by all trees and a 6-foot-high fence. An entrance to the secondary backyard was covered by trees and a
Tarpaulin?
tarpaulin?
Tarpaulin. I don't know what that is.
Privacy was enhanced by tents and outbuildings. Electricity was supplied by extension cords. The enclosure also housed a car that matched the description of the one used in the abduction. Which, like, hello. What are we doing?
Yep.
What are we doing?
Law enforcement officers visited the residence at least twice, but did not ask to inspect the backyard, and did not detect the presence of Dugard or her children in the areas of the property that they did inspect. These were among several missed opportunities for rescue, which later led to criticism of authorities. Police failed to realize that Dugard had been kidnapped south of South Lake Tahoe, the same location as Garrido's 1976 kidnapping and rape of Catherine Calloway Hall. On April 22, 1992, less than a year after her kidnapping, a man called the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Department from a gas station less than 2 miles from Guitos Home, reporting that he saw Dugard inside the gas station staring intently at a missing child poster of herself. The caller then reported seeing her leave in a large yellow van, possibly a Dodge. An old yellow Dodge van was later recovered from the Garrido property that matched the description of the van given in the call. The license plate was not reported in the 1992 call. The caller, the girl, and the van were gone by the time the police had arrived. The caller never identified himself, and the police did not pursue the matter. Contradicting this story, Dugard reported that she never left the Garrido property from the day that she was kidnapped until shortly after her first child was born in August 1994. Okay, so I don't know. That's a weird one.
Yeah.
In June of 2002, the Antioch Fire Department responded to a report of a juvenile with a shoulder injury that occurred in the swimming pool at Guitos Home. This information was not relayed to the parole office, which had no record of either juvenile or a swimming pool at the Garridos address. In 2006, one of Garrido's neighbors called 911 to inform them that there were tents in the backyard with children living there, and that Garrido was psychotic and with sexual addictions. A deputy sheriff spoke with Garrido at the front of his house for about 30 minutes and left, after telling Garrido that there would be a code violation if people were living outside on the property. After Dugard was found in August of 2009, the local Contra Costa County Sheriff, Warren E. Rupp, issued an apology to the victims in the news conference.
Nuts.
On November 4th, 2009, the California Office of the Inspector General issued a report that enumerated lapses by the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation that had contributed to Dugard's continued captivity. The central finding was that Garrido was incorrectly classified as needing only low-level supervision. All other lapses... I cannot believe I just fucking read that.
I know.
I cannot believe I just read that after what this dude did. You should be on over-supervised vision for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I don't.
You're lucky you're out.
Yeah, and like 20 years early, released.
What in the hell?
On low-level supervision.
All other lapses derived from the mistake. In his report, the Inspector General detailed an instance in which a parole agent encountered a 12-year-old girl at the home, but accepted Garrido's explanation that she was his brother's daughter, and the agent did nothing to verify it, even though a call to Garrido's brother verified that he did not have children.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there were so many red flags.
The parole officer looked her dead in the face.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, no, that's just like my brother's kid.
Yeah, let's get back to the office. Hey, Philip's brother, you got kids? No. Oh, okay, never mind.
No biggie. There's just a child in that house.
We're not going to do nothing about it.
Don't need to follow up. No big deal.
And this is why she got $20 million.
Yep. Just so many instances where had they just done a little bit more.
Should have been more. She should have got more.
Absolutely. Had they just done a little bit more, had they just, I don't know, done their jobs and not just been like, yeah, no big deal.
We're
that's fine.
we're about to get into how she was discovered, and how she got discovered. These people need all the praise in the world.
Because they knew, like those women knew.
Intuition.
Yep. On August 24th, 2009, Garrido visited the San Francisco office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and left a 4-page essay containing his ideas about religion and sexuality, suggesting that he had discovered a solution to problem behaviors like his past crimes.
This dude showed up to the FBI
And was like, here's a 4-page essay.
on why I'm a fucking retard.
Yeah. Oof.
Excuse my language. On why I'm an insane person.
Yeah. Just like straight up out of my mind. And here's why.
At the FBI.
Yeah.
That should tell you something.
Yeah. The essay described how he had cured his deviant behavior and how that information could be used to assist in curing other sexual predators by controlling human impulses that drive humans to commit dysfunctional acts.
Yeah, I wonder if the note said, hey, I kidnapped a girl.
Got in trouble for it.
Got in trouble. Kidnapped a girl. Got her pregnant twice. She had 2 kids, and that cured my, desire to kidnap people anymore.
That was all I needed.
Yeah.
On the same day, Garrido traveled to the University of California, Berkeley, or UC Berkeley, with Dugard's 2 daughters and visited the campus police office seeking permission to hold a special event as a part of his, quote, God Desire program. He spoke with special event manager Lisa Campbell. She perceived his behaviors as erratic and felt that the girls were sullen and submissive. She asked Garrido to make an appointment for the next day, which he did, leaving his name in the process. Officer Allie Jacobs ran a background check and discovered that Garrido was a registered sex offender on the federal parole for kidnapping and rape. Garrido and the girls returned from their appointment at 2 p.m. the following day, and Jacobs attended the meeting. The girls
were 15 and 11 at this time, or 14 and 11, something like that. They were old.
Yeah.
Think about that.
I tried to look them up just to see if
very private.
Yeah.
They are very private. I don't even think you can find their names.
No.
There's been a couple of paparazzi shots of them, but they have that shit so zip tight that any shot of them is blurred out.
I mean, I would just love to hear what it was like for them to suddenly have everything that they knew just stripped.
Which by now, I think they're about to be 30.
Yeah.
They're your age.
Yeah, I was born in 1999, and
they're a little bit older, a couple years older than you.
Yeah, her youngest daughter is 3 or 2 years older, or younger.
Crazy.
Older than me. God.
They probably just don't remember much about it. I don't know. They probably remember, being found and that being a big thing.
Yeah. I wonder if they were but I want, why? Why is it such a big deal that my mom, which she was going by Alyssa, is all of a sudden now Jaycee? What?
And they were sad when Phillip got arrested.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to hear.
That's a wild thing.
Yeah. If they ever decide to share their stories and what life was like for them from what they remember, I'd be so curious to hear it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The girls appeared to Jacob to be pale as if they had not been exposed to sunlight, and she felt that their behavior was unusual. Garrido's several parole violations were a basis for an arrest, so Jacobs phoned the parole office to relay her concerns, leaving a report on voicemail. After hearing Jacobs' recorded message, two parole agents drove to the Garrido's house later that day. Upon arrival, they handcuffed Garrido and searched the house, finding only his wife Nancy and his elderly mother at home. The parole agents then drove him to the parole office. En route, Garrido said that the girls who had accompanied him at UC Berkeley, quote, were the daughters of a relative, and that he had permission from their parents to take them there. Although the parole office had previously barred Garrido from associating with minors, and Berkeley was 40 miles from the Garrido's Contra Costa residence, or 15 miles or 24 kilometers over the 25-mile limit, he was allowed to travel from his home without his parole agent's permission. Nothing was done about these violations. Nothing reviewed After reviewing his file with a supervisor, he drove Garrido home and ordered him to report to the office again the next day to discuss his visit to UC Berkeley and to follow up on the office's concerns about the two girls.
Garrido arrived at the parole office in Concord, California on August 26th with Nancy, the two girls, and Dugard, who was introduced as Alyssa. The parole officer decided to separate Garrido from the women and the girls to obtain their identification. Maintaining her false identity as Alyssa, Dugard told investigators that the girls were her daughters. Although that she indicated that she was aware that Garrido was a convicted sex offender, she stated that he was a changed man, a great person, and was good with her kids. Comments that were echoed by the two girls. When pressed for details that would confirm her identity, Dugard became extremely defensive and agitated, demanding to know why she was being interrogated. This is the girl who's captive.
Mm-hmm.
And subsequently stated that she was a battered wife from Minnesota and hiding from her abusive husband. The parole officer eventually called the Concord police. Upon the arrival of the Concord police sergeant, Garrido admitted that he had kidnapped and raped Dugard, which that was wild.
Mm-hmm.
Only after this did she properly identify herself as Jaycee Dugard.
But she never said it out loud. They kept asking her, and she was like, well, the officer said, like, I'm going to give you one more chance to tell me, like, what is your name? And she was like, I'm not going to say it out loud, but I'll write it down on paper for you. And she wrote down
Jaycee Dugard. It was
Ooh.
later, imagine that cop seeing that name.
And going, oh my God.
Holy shit.
There you are.
18 years later. It was later suggested that Dugard showed signs of Stockholm Syndrome, which I don't know what that is.
It's where you over romanticize. Let me read it. Stockholm Syndrome is a proposed condition or theory that tries to explain why hostages sometimes develop a psychological bond with their captors. Stockholm Syndrome is a contested illness due to the doubt about the legitimacy of the condition. Emotional bonds possibly form between captors and captive during intimate time together, but they are considered irrational by some in light of the danger or risk endured by the victims. Stockholm Syndrome has never been included in the Diagnostics and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the standard tool for diagnosing of psychiatric illnesses and disorders in the United States, mainly due to the lack of consistent body of academic research.
So it's pretty much just like
you develop like a strong
bond,
love bond with your captor. And a lot of people are saying that that is a stretch for Jaycee. And she even says herself, like, it frustrates her when people say, like, oh, so you have Stockholm Syndrome because you got upset that he got in trouble. And she's like, no, that wasn't it. I don't have Stockholm Syndrome. I'm not in love with him. But, like, I think she was sad for her kids. And so everybody was classifying it as, well, she was in love with him.
Interesting.
Very.
In a 2016 ABC News interview, Dugard stated that her compassion and willingness to interact with her captor were her only means of surviving, saying, and I quote, "The phrase Stockholm Syndrome implies that hostages cracked by terror and abuse become affectionate towards their captors. Well, it's really degrading. You know, having my family believe that I was in love with this captor and wanted to stay with him, I mean, that is so far from the truth that it makes me want to throw up.
Yeah.
I adapted to survive my circumstance." She repeatedly stated that as a survival mechanism, many victims are forced to sympathize with their captors.
Right.
I get that.
Yep.
Garrido and his wife were placed under arrest. An FBI special agent put Dugard on the telephone with her mother, Terry Probin. Dugard retained custody of her children and reunited with her mother on August 27th of 2009.
Oof. And listening to her mom say,
I would love to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
When in both rooms.
Yeah.
In that detective's office and when the mom's at work.
Yep. And she was like receiving that call and them telling me like, we have your daughter at the station.
18 years later.
And she was like, I couldn't breathe. Like I could not believe it.
Yeah.
They were telling me that they found like my Jaycee and she was in the office.
And Jaycee goes, I have babies.
Oh, you have grandkids.
I have babies.
Crazy.
That are 15 and 12 or 11, however old they were.
Nuts.
God.
What a crazy
Your life gets
reunion.
flipped upside down in 1991 and then flipped upside down in 2009.
That's just like so much for one person to go through.
Like, that is wild.
Her story is just,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
The wild thing is I remember glimpses of this happening in 2009 because I was a senior in high school. I kind of this was a huge thing
I'm
on
sure.
the news.
I'm
I kind of
sure.
remember seeing it.
wow.
Okay. Dugard's aunt, Tina Dugard, and a former business associate of the Guitos, Siobhan Molino, have commented that Dugard's children looked healthy. Tina said that upon her meeting them after their escape, they always appeared and behaved like normal kids. Molino said of the times that she met them while they were captive that in her presence that the girls never acted robotically and did not wear unusual clothing. Well, yeah, because that's the life that they knew.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't know that the life that they were living was a life of captivity.
Yeah. Which,
So,
like, good on Jaycee for
At least
doing what she could for her kids and providing whatever their sense of normalcy could be. Like, good on her
not
for
making
doing
them
that.
feel that they were born in prison.
Yeah, like telling them, like how they came to be and they're not supposed to be there and she's waiting for her moment to break or whatever. She just like gave them what normal was. And I think that's awesome.
Yep. We can actually probably end it there.
Okay.
Because this goes on to talk about how the girls were upset of Philip's arrest, and
Yeah.
there's not much else about them. Jaycee, Philip, and Nancy got like Philip got like 80 something to life, and Nancy got like 30 something to
Yeah.
life, and she can be eligible for parole in 2029, which she ain't getting out.
What?
She ain't getting out.
It's just so whack to even say those words.
Yeah, she ain't getting out. Not
that.
today. Yeah, she's not getting out.
Yeah. It says down here, coming out of what she had to endure is like entering a new world. It's like a door has opened for her and she's emerged from a world that's black and white into one that is full of color.
Yep.
And I think that's a good way to put it.
She got $20 million from the state of California.
Yep. She also has 2 books. Just 2 books out.
I never got a chance to read the book. We need to check
Yeah.
on the book.
I would love to hear how much she goes in depth, or maybe doesn't go in depth about what it was like to be a mom at the age that she was made to be a mom. Because I think that is the most interesting part to me, like being a mom myself and knowing, like the conditions that she had to raise her kids in. I mean, I know that probably was normal to her, but
You go from living in a shed to,
a tent.
living great now. They probably have a big piece of land.
You're
It's
talking about when she's out.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's just awful.
Yep.
It's good, and I'm glad that she's out, and things have changed. But the whole story itself is just awful.
It just shows you what could have happened with the police
Yeah.
interaction.
Yep.
But that's all we got for today.
Interesting story.
Next episode will be a spooky one. I don't know which one it'll be yet.
We'll see.
We'll figure it out. Subscribe to YouTube. Follow the Spotify.
Ooh, Spotify. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Follow Spotify.
Yep. See ya.